The character I'm going to be talking about today is Sophia. Sophia, I think, is one of the main central characters for me. She's one of the youngest and ultimately one of the most vulnerable. Season 1, we seen Sophia with her dad and her mum. She's obviously come from a really broken home. She's had a tough time growing up with her dad, and you can see strength in the little girl though. You know, she shows it when she's in the tent with her dad, and her dad's like, you know, why don't you stay with me? And that's the night of the fish fry when the walker's attacking. She doesn't do what he says, you know, she retaliates and, you know, walks off, which ultimately, if you think about it now, kind of saved her life, because if she'd been in that tent, staying with her dad, and then walkers had come in, you know, it wouldn't have been nice, you know. It's more likely Sophia would have died that night. Yeah, her and Melissa McBride's, who plays Carol, her mother, relationship is probably one of the best I've seen in all the TV shows that I've watched. Maddie Lintz, who plays Sophia, she's such a young actress, but you can see that she's got a real talent there, and her and Carol, they really, you know, I could believe that they were mother and daughter in real life. You know, they really have a unique bond there, and I think to get that across to viewers that, you know, believe that they're an actual family, this family unit between her and her daughter, is a really hard thing to do, and the fact that it's, you know, two really talented actresses that, you know, get it across, and I think that's just, you know, pat in the back for them. They've done great. Sophia's disappearance on the highway it's hard for me really to talk about, because it's tragic, it's really sad, it's sad for all the members of the group, because I think ultimately when she disappeared, Rick blames himself probably the most, because he was the last one to see her alive, and when he goes looking for her and he blames himself for leaving her, he's like, I shouldn't have left her, and it's like the rest are like, there's nothing he could have done, and ultimately he'd probably be asking that the rest of his life. Was there anything I could have done to save that little girl's life? And he's going to keep going over and over upon it, and I'd probably, if I was him, I'd probably be exactly the same. The episode Pretty Much Dead Already is, yeah, it's probably the most upsetting episode so far of the season, of both seasons actually for me. When I watched it, I cried, and I cried again when I rewatched it, and it's actually getting shown in the UK tonight on Channel 4. Ultimately, I will cry again. It's just that moment when they shoot all the walkers at the barn, and then little Maddie appears, you know, with her shoes out the barn. It's just that horrible moment, you know, you realise, God, she's been in there the whole time, and, you know, she's dead. Like, Sophia's dead, and, you know, she's a little girl, it's a child, you know, that changes everything, and it's just, you know, this horrible realisation that they've spent the last week, you know, looking for this little girl, believing so much, and, you know, they don't really have a lot to go on nowadays in the world that they live in. Hope's a very hard thing to come by, and they're clinging on of finding Sophia again. It's such an important thing for the mentality of the group, especially for Daryl. Him finding Sophia was a big thing, and when she comes out that barn and it's their faces, it's horrible, it's heartbreaking. So I think, yeah, Sophia to me is one of the most powerful events that happened in that show, and her death has really made an impact, especially on me. And Maddie's done a fantastic job.